Hey everyone, Robert Ferringo here once again with Raphael Esparza bringing you What Are the Odds? If you don't know or you're just stumbled across this channel, we are professional sports handicappers and experts from Docs Sports Services. And if you are interested in signing up with Doc Sports, take advantage of that free 60 link down in the description that gives you $60 free to use towards any handicapper, any package, any sport that you want. Today we are talking college basketball. Raphael, you are always my Valentine. Today we just get to celebrate it officially. Happy Valentine's Day there, big guy. What are you doing with the wife tonight?
Absolutely not. There's a parade coming right by our house tonight. It's Mardi Gras here in New
That's
Orleans. So
right. Yep.
we actually have a parade that's going right across our house. So we'll do that. Ever since I moved to New Orleans, Valentine's Day is nothing. It is probably one of the least celebrated events here in New Orleans because it's always during Mardi Gras. So they do not celebrate. So I kind of get a pass for living here, not celebrating a Valentine's Day because it's Mardi Gras season.
I mean, get some water balloons at least. Like throw some water balloons at the people walking by, or if that's mean, maybe just blow some bubbles at them or something like that. I don't know. I would definitely mess with the people in the parade, but that's just
no bubbles. I hate bubbles. I did a show the other day. That was my rant. We do a rant Wednesday, and that was my rant. Bubbles. I can't stand bubbles because I have glasses. So when I'm walking, they use bubbles for the whole Super Bowl event. Everywhere I went, there was bubbles all over there. So a guy that wears glasses 365 days a year hates bubbles, and that is this guy right here.
Okay, so I now know that you never dropped ecstasy or did ecstasy and went to a rave in the 90s or early 2000s because you might feel differently about bubbles, but that's a different show. This show, What Are the Odds? We are going to take a look at a monster college basketball Saturday. Not many games going on Friday, which is kind of good. Gives us a little extra time to focus on what we have happening in college basketball on Saturday. And Raphael, I'm going to leave it to you there, big guy. Where do you want to start on this card?
Well, you sent a list of great games, and why are we going to beat around the bush? There is one monster game on Saturday, 1 versus 2. And I'm not talking about Alabama and Auburn football. I'm not talking about maybe even their basketball. I don't even want to talk about their basketball because this one's going to be a track meet on Saturday. Auburn at Alabama. If you like points, this is your game. If you don't like points, then we'll probably discuss a game that I'm going to talk about later, Houston and St. Mary's. But this game right here, 1 versus 2, I cannot wait to watch this. I'm glad there's no NBA on that game. I'm glad the USA-Canada hockey game will be delayed a little bit while I watch this game because I am pumped to watch this game. I'm a totals guy. You know this. I thought the total was a little bit low. I want to mention, that's what I kind of want to talk about. It's 172.5. I thought it was going to be like 174, 175 because it's in Alabama's backyard. I mean, they figure if you want to beat number 1, which we saw last week, number 1 Auburn is beatable, then you're going to need to control your tempo. And if that's Alabama's way, if they control the tempo early and play their game, they can hit 90 easily against Auburn's defense. They're averaging 91 points a game and 92 points a game at home. So I love the way Alabama. I'm looking for this total. I'm blown away that it wasn't 174 or higher.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's still a lot of points for a college basketball game. You do still think that there's a little bit of value on the over? You do think that this game gets up into the 90s?
It's not a big unit or a premium play, but I do think there's value just because if Alabama wants to rush the court after this game because they beat number 1, which I'm sure they was, like the 2 beat number 1. Ooh, if they want to win this game at home, they're going to have to put up 80 plus points on Auburn, and Auburn shows week after week they can go toe to toe with people who have great offense. It's not like they can't. Look at the Florida game that they played already. They had a great offensive game, and they couldn't hit free throws late, and they couldn't grab a rebound late. But I just think Bama controls the tempo, and I love to watch their speed. It reminds me of the old LMU days with Hank Gathers and all that. They would just run, and score.
Yeah, the last time that these two played, it was 99-81. Yep. Auburn won at home, so 180 points in that game. But you had one team almost score 100, and it still would have only barely cleared this total. The total last year when they played was 161.5 both times, so that you can see how much that number has spiked. So you like the total. Let's talk about the number. It came in pretty much exactly where I thought. I thought Alabama would be favored because they're at home. Is Alabama the better team in your estimation? Like, it's easy to forget that they were the team coming into the season at the beginning of the year that was at the top of the pyramid. Auburn has really controlled that number one ranking for most of the last 2 months. But is there a case to be made that Alabama is actually the better team here?
There could be. I mean, if Auburn plays like they did against Florida at home, I mean, people forget. Yeah, they lost the game, but they lost at home bad to a Florida team. And I like the redemption game the next day, or the next game after they played on the road against Vandy, which is a hard place to play, even though the Vandy is not an Auburn team. But I like how they got their momentum back to come into this game against Alabama. I understand 1.5. I don't think we're going to see significant line movement in this game because there's really two kind of equal teams in this one. I understand why they made Bama the favorite at home, but I don't see that much line movement in this game. That's why I don't really have a winner or loser. I was just focused on the total. If I made a number 1.5 and it came out 1.5, for me in betting, there's no value.
Okay, Alabama has won 7 straight. They've won overall. They've won 3 out of the last 4 meetings. So Nate Oates has kind of had Bruce Pearl's number a little bit. Call me crazy, but I'm actually hoping Alabama wins. I don't think I'm going to have a play in this game because I'm with you. I don't see a ton of value. I said in another video that I would not be surprised if Auburn won by double digits or if Alabama won by double digits. Like, just because they're number 1, number 2 doesn't mean that this is going to be a close game. Like I said, the last time they played, it was 99-81, not a close game. But what I am hoping for here is I hope Alabama wins this game, because they have a rematch in a couple of weeks in Auburn. Do you think that a win here would influence that number in a couple of weeks?
Depends on how big the win is. If they win by double digits, like you said, then yes, I think the number could be a little bit out of whack than if it was maybe a 2-point or a 3-point victory. So the style of play and whoever wins amount of points is going to be determined what the line's going to be and what the bettors are going to look at it.
Yeah, because Alabama is not winning in Auburn. They're not going to do that to this team. So I almost hope Alabama wins this game, and then that could set us up for a bigger payday down the road. So, all right, first game that I wanted to talk about was a really interesting game in the Big Ten. We got Wisconsin at Purdue. So I know that Max of Doc Sports, he's going to be honing in and focusing on this next segment here, Raphael. I projected that this number would come out around 4.5 for Purdue at home. Came out at 5.5. Why do you think that number is a little bit thicker than what some of the statistics suggest it should be?
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked on the number as well. I mean, I think both teams are playing above that I thought they were going to be. I thought
Yes.
Purdue was not a rebuild team. I mean, they lost a big guy, so I thought they were a totally different team. But then I thought Wisconsin was going to be a little bit more of a defensive team, and their offensive numbers are through the roof. So I agree with you. I think the number came a little bit 1.5 too high on this one. So I need to do a little bit more research on why they made it. Are they expecting more points on the other side? That's why they had to make it high. So I'm trying to figure out why this number came out. I'm going to do some digging on this. But yeah, a little bit confused on why this number was posted as it was. I'm sure if me and you think the number is wrong, I bet you a lot of other people think it's going to be wrong, and we might see some line movement by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Both of these teams have overachieved what my level of expectations were. I still thought Purdue would be okay, that they'd be kind of fighting and clawing to get back into the NCAA tournament, that they probably would. I did not see them as a top 10 team. And I think that just speaks to Braden Smith, who I've been talking about for weeks. That guy should be a first-team All-American. He better be a first-team All-American. If you don't know Braden Smith, he's the point guard for Purdue. He's one of the best guards in the country. This is a guy who's probably not going to have an NBA career, but is just an amazing college player. The only thing that I could think of with this number is 2 things. Number one, they're giving a lot of respect for Mackey Arena, where Purdue plays. Purdue, if you remember, they beat Alabama at home earlier this year. That is a tough place to get a win. So that, they're shading the line a little bit for that. And we'll talk about that. That's what I think they're doing with the Houston-Arizona line, which we will get to that game. The other thing is Purdue is coming off a loss. They lost at Michigan. They did cover the spread. Those are probably the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. Purdue coming off a loss. So maybe it's one of those things where they think Purdue's not going to lose twice in 1 week. And if they win they're probably going to cover in this game. Now, that being said, Wisconsin's had a lot of success. They're 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 against Purdue, and they actually won in Mackey in 2022. So only 2 years ago, they went on the road and won. And if you remember, they beat Purdue last year in the Big Ten tournament when they had Zach Edey. So this Wisconsin team is absolutely not afraid of the Boilermakers. Now, Raphael, let me ask you your just general betting philosophy on something that I kind of just touched on. With these spreads that are like, how high does a spread for an underdog have to get before you start thinking to yourself, I don't know if this team's going to win, but I think that's too many points? Because for me, any spread below, say, 5 points, if I don't think the team can win, I'm not taking the points. I'm not taking the points thinking that they're going to lose by 3. Okay, that's a really tough needle to thread. So what's kind of your philosophy on like how many points do you want on an underdog before you get into that realm of, okay, I don't know if they're going to win. They don't have to win to cover this number. Maybe it's lower than mine. Maybe it's higher than mine. Just what are some of your thoughts on that?
I look at conference, because Big Ten is one of those conferences that road wins matter, and road wins usually happen all the time. So there's not real big dominant home team. It's not like Duke, who has a great home field advantage back in the days when North Carolina had a great home field, but Houston has a great home field advantage. Big Ten, you could go to a Big Ten backyard and steal a road game anytime you want. Maybe not Northwestern or some other lower teams, but this one, for me, a perfect example. I made this number 4.5. Came out 5.5. Right? So now I circled that game. I'm going to look at, okay, now I'm going to look at some paths on why this number is this high. Did they have had 6? You already said they've already won in 2022. They beat them last year in a tournament. Wisconsin's offense is much improved than what I thought it was going to be. That's why I thought the total was a little bit high at 147.5. If I like the home team, Purdue, I'm probably going to look at the under, because if you're Purdue, you need to slow down the 3-ball that the Wisconsin is going to be jacking up all day long to try to steal that road game. So I look at totally different factors. If I like Purdue, I'm probably going to look at the total going under, because they're going to need to control it. Now, if you like Wisconsin plus the 5.5, I would wait to see if that 6 pops up. And then you could take the +6, or even look at the total of going over. Because if you're Wisconsin, you need to steal this road game. You need to probably put up almost close to 80, 85 points to win this game at Mackey Arena.
All right, what's the next game that you that jumped out at you or that you're looking forward to tomorrow?
Houston, Arizona. We already mentioned it a little bit and why I love this matchup right here. Houston opened up a 1.5-point favorite, total 137.5. Why? I understand this total at 137.5 because it's all about Houston's D. Anytime you're going to look at a Houston game, play a Houston game, you're looking at their defense. You're going to say, okay, can they slow down this offense? Could they slow down Arizona's offense? Arizona's had some bad losses this year. They've struggled at home, especially if the 3-ball at home and shooting free throws at home. That's why they don't have the best against the spread record. You look at all their losses or all their games they didn't cover, go automatically to their free throw shooting. And that's probably one of the main reasons why they didn't cover this game. 3-game winning streak that Houston's on, but they held opponents to 65 points or under. That's what I am looking at this one. I thought the total 137.5 with the spread 1.5 Houston. This one's going to be very interesting and enjoyable game to watch. Everyone's going to talk about Alabama and Auburn, which they should. But this game right here is going to be very interesting because if Arizona gets hot and hits this 3-ball, if they need to push this one over the total if they want to steal this game.
Yeah, this is another one that I thought that the number would come in right around 2.5. It's at 1.5. Is Arizona getting a little too much credit for their home court advantage?
Yes, I think two.
Or no, are they like they beat Iowa State at home? They beat Texas Tech at home. They beat some good teams at home. Do you think that they deserve that kind of respect? And on that token, is it a red flag? Like this is what we like to do here at What Are the Odds? Is we like to break down these numbers, okay? Is it a red flag that Houston is favored on their own? Arizona's not a home underdog in the McHale Center very, very often. So should that be sending off blinking red lights to us?
It should. I mean, because Arizona, back in the day when they were cutting ribbons down and flags, they had a home dominant stadium. And this one's going to be packed. They're going to know Houston's coming in as a road favorite. So Arizona can win this one. I do believe the Wildcats can win this one. They're coming off a loss, 3-point loss on the road to Kansas State, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of days ago. So that could be a factor. What would the number be if they won that game against Kansas State, would we still see them as a road or as a home underdogs? That was going to be a factor. I mean, they beat up Texas Tech. That game was like 82-74, something around that, but they had control of that game the whole time. Texas Tech had some some easy 3-pointers that fell in. That's why the game looks closer than it really did. I like Arizona. I would love to get more points. I would love to get to 2.5, which I don't think we're going to get, but I think Arizona's a light play here.
See, I actually am on the other side of that. As this number stays down where it is, I'm 100% looking at Houston. I give Arizona a lot of credit for what they've done. I think they're like 13-2, something like that in their last 15 games. You know, you mentioned the Kansas State loss. I was actually impressed with them in that game. Like they were riding that 6-game winning streak. They were coming off that big win over Texas Tech. You know, it wasn't that long ago they had that huge win over Iowa State. That went to overtime. So like the bubble was ready to burst for Arizona going into the Octagon in Manhattan. That is a very tough place for road teams to play. I was like, okay, this is a spot where Arizona could absolutely lay an egg. They didn't. They lost by 3. They covered the number in that. They were down early. They actually came back and took the lead in the second half of that game. So if you can be impressed with the loss, which you absolutely can, I was impressed with Arizona in that loss to Kansas State. However, Houston is a completely different animal. I think that they are one of the best potential national champions that I feel like nobody is really talking about. They are 16-1 straight up in their last 17 games, Raphael. Only 3 of those 16 wins have come by single digits. Only 2 of them have been by less than 9 points. They are not just beating teams. They are getting out the pillow and smothering them to death. Like these games have been domination from Houston. And to your point about Arizona, who do you got to stop, right? You got to stop Caleb Love. I feel like he's exactly the type of player, high volume, streaky, won't stop shooting, even if he's cold early. I feel like he's exactly the type of player that Houston's defense loves. They got to love play on this guy because they get up into your body. They get up into your face. They're going to challenge everything that he does. I think it's going to be a very frustrating day for Caleb Love. And if he doesn't go off, if he doesn't put up 20, 25 plus points, I just don't see how Arizona can win this game because I just don't think that their complementary pieces are as good as Houston's.
So you're betting against Love the day after Thanksgiving. Is that what you're saying?
Not the day after Valentine's.
Sorry, the day
a couple months after Thanksgiving. But I like where your head's at. I like that you're thinking holiday, Thanksgiving. Oh, we're having turkey tonight, hon. So there you go. Get out some candles. Get out some candles and just put them on the dinner table tonight, and you can tell her that you took her for a romantic evening.
Quick shout out to John Studsman for appreciate you watching, John, and another John that says hi and hello earlier, and then Timothy says he loves the show. So thank you guys for watching.
Okay, next game that I want to talk about, we're going to go back into the SEC and go back into another rivalry game. Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I think these are 2 teams that didn't have high expectations coming into this season. Both ranked, both having good seasons here. Both should be NCAA tournament teams, but they're kind of going in opposite directions right now. Ole Miss has won 3 straight. Overall, Mississippi State is 1-3 in their last 4 games. They did win. Ironically, the one win that they had was at Georgia. Mississippi State has played a little bit better on the road recently. This number for a rivalry game, it's right in that 5.5-6 range, kind of where I expected it. But at the same time, for 2 top 25 teams, throw in the rivalry aspect. Does this number seem a little bit high, or do you think that this could be like some potential value? I mean, Mississippi State has won 5 of the last 6 meetings in this series. 2 of the last 4 games in this series have gone to overtime. So these 2 teams usually do play each other kind of tight. What do you think about where the number is now, and which direction do you think that it'll go over the next 24 hours?
I'm hoping they take the people take the plus points because I'm looking at I'm not sold on Mississippi State. You said they dropped like 1 under the last 3. They're not playing really good ball. They can't cover the 3 ball. They've been outscored in the second half. I think those 3 games they played. So I'm actually looking for this. I want people to play the plus points, so I can maybe get this one to come down to like 5, even 4.5, which I do believe. I think the betting public's going to take the plus points. They're going to look at past performances and recent meetings. So I think the public will take the plus points. But I had the number correctly on this one, but I'm looking for it to come down because I just think home court and the style of play, I think, pushes over. I think home court holds.
Yeah, to your point about them struggling defensively, they have given up 80 or more points in 6 of their last 9 games. All 3 of those recent losses, they gave up 81, 88, and 88 points. So that's not really a recipe for success. We know that Ole Miss likes to get into people. We know that everything they do starts on the defensive end. I'm kind of with you. I kind of like Ole Miss in this situation. I think that this game actually could get away from Mississippi State, a team that I think is just kind of trending in the wrong direction.
The only thing that scares me about Ole Miss, I was not impressed when they went to Baton Rouge. They almost lost, or it was Baton Rouge when they went to LSU, almost beat them. They only won by 2 points, and me and you can find 3 other guys that could probably beat LSU right now.
Yeah, what's going on with that program, huh? Like that's pretty pathetic. I'm a little worried that that Ole Miss they beat Alabama on the road about a month ago, but really, like, when you look at their schedule, they haven't beaten a lot of high-end teams. They beat Kentucky, but that was when they were playing without Lamont Butler. I feel like Ole Miss is a team that I like. I like their veterans. I like how they defend. I like Beard as a coach, but I still feel like I need to see a little bit more out of them before we can determine if they're a second weekend team or if this is one of those teams that's going to make the NCAA tournament, just be ripe for that mid-major upset. I think that if Ole Miss is for real, they can't prove it here, but if they go out and handle this game against a sagging Mississippi State team, it'll show me a little something. They really should dominate this game.
Yeah, okay. The one thing that does scare me, the only game that they covered was against Kentucky when they won by double digits. They've only covered 1 out of their last 7 games.
Right. Yeah, they're a good team. They're not a great team. We need to see that next gear from them. So, okay, the next game that you want to talk about, I knew you were going to do this, and I love you for it. You're going to dip into some of those mid-majors. And my last game that I'm going to talk about is just for you, another mid-major. What do you got for us, Raphael?
Oh, you know me. I love some. If you really want to get on Max's bad side, you pick the latest game on the board and put a play on it to get on his bad side. I like Washington State at St. Mary's, not because I'm a big fan of Washington State, but I'm a big fan of this St. Mary Gales team. Ever since they lost Utah State, their defense at home has been dominating. So I just love this game. I'm hoping this total comes out anywhere between 138, 139 on this, because I just think the Gales, who've already beat Washington State once already, I think their defense is going to be very impressive on this. In their last 4 games, they've held opponents to 64 points or less at home. I can't wait to watch St. Mary's. They're going to be tournament bound. Who would have thought that maybe Gonzaga could have maybe a question mark if they're going to be tournament bound this year? Because St. Mary's is a shoe-in right now, especially where they've been playing. I think that loss for Utah State can maybe help them in their conference tournament and in the tournament only, because I think that big loss at home to the Aggies has woken them up. So this could be a very interesting team to watch out for a conference tournament and for the big dance. I like the St. Mary's team.
Yeah, St. Mary's should be safe, especially because if you're looking on a daily basis like I am at some of the non-conference strength of schedules of some of the teams in the SEC and Big Ten, there are a lot of teams that played a pretty pathetic schedule. St. Mary's has a top 50 strength of schedule in the non-conference. Yeah, they lost some games, but they lost to Arizona State by 4. They lost to Boise State by 2 in overtime. They did lose to Utah State at home, but Utah State is pretty damn good. Like, for my money, I think that they could win the Mountain West Conference tournament. They might be the best team in the Mountain West. That's not a bad loss by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. So last night, we were recording this on Friday, obviously. Last night, San Francisco covered the big number. Now, this Washington State St. Mary's game, I think this number is going to come out around 13.5. That's where I see it. San Francisco went to Gonzaga last night as a 14-point underdog. They lost by 11, but that's a little misleading. That game was really never in the blowout range or blowout territory. So San Francisco easily covered. Washington State has lost a bunch of games lately, but why shouldn't we treat this the same as that San Francisco Gonzaga matchup where it's like, okay, these second tier, not the bottom of the WCC. The bottom of the WCC is absolutely pathetic. But these second tier teams like Santa Clara, San Francisco, Washington State, do you think that they can hang around with the big boys?
They probably could. I mean, they didn't cover against Santa Clara, which opened up at 9.5, got bet all the way up to 12.5 because it was one of the last games. So here's another late game. I do believe it's at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you like St. Mary's, get it early. If you like Washington State, wait until close to tip-off because I can guarantee you people are going to be chasing and they're going to look at St. Mary's home record and how they play on the road. They'll probably push this one up. If this gets out of hand, 14.5, then I want nothing to do with it. I kind of don't even want nothing to do with it with 13.5. Like I said, they struggled to cover against Santa Clara. The only great cover they've had was at home against Gonzaga, and that was just a big matchup. But trying to fade St. Mary's at home in a University Credit Arena, I want nothing to do with that. I'm either with the Gales at home or I'm not playing it.
I'm with you 100%. They are not a team that I like to bet against when they're playing in their home gym because they're just a different animal in that gym. It's a small gym. The crowd's on top of you. Team like Washington State isn't used to playing there, coming from the Pac-12. So I don't think they know what they're in for either. Now, the first time that these two teams played, it was 80-75 at Washington State. So you're saying you like this game a little bit lower scoring than the first.
Yeah, it's because it's at St. Mary's. I mean, if they held Gonzaga to less than 70 points, what is Washington State going to do when that crowd is on top of you? That crowd is loud. And visiting visitors that come to the Credit Pavilion, they shoot horrible free throws. Look at all their games that they won there. The free throw shoot, because it's such a small gym. It's such a loud gym. I've been there. I watched the game there. It's almost like the Cameron Crazies, not like 5.0 because it's not that big of a gym and they have air conditioning. Cameron Crazy doesn't have air conditioning.
Okay, for my last game, I want to stay out west into your favorite your favorite conference, and we're looking at the Mountain West. That Boise State San Diego State game is a big one. They're rivals. They're two of the best teams yet again. They're both fighting. New Mexico looks like they're running away with the conference at 13-1. Utah State right behind them at 12-2. These two teams are 9-4. So this is an important game to launch someone forward in that race for seeding to get that number 3 seed potentially and avoid New Mexico in the conference tournament. Look, Raphael, we've been watching, handicapping, betting the Mountain West for a long time. And as well as I do, it comes down to one thing usually and one thing only, and that's home court advantage, right? San Diego State is at home here. I expect this number to be small, though. It should be around 3.5, I would think. That doesn't feel like enough points to go into San Diego because remember what I was talking about before, where it's like, okay, at what number do you say I think this team could lose but cover this number? If you're taking Boise State +3, +3.5 in this game, that's you saying, or it should be you saying, I think they're going to win this game. You don't take that number because you think, oh, okay, I think it's going to be a 2-point game. Like that's nonsense handicapping, right? So do you think Boise State can go in there on the road and get this win? Or do you think that this is kind of a juicy spot to jump on San Diego State?
No, I think Boise can go and steal a win. Wyoming only lost by 2 points at San Diego State. San Jose State, which I think I had that as one of my plays because we'll talk about San Jose State in a little bit. They held San Diego State to some nail bite and won late. So they've lost 3 games already at home. This is not the same Kawhi Leonard San Diego State team we've seen in the past. This is not the same defense we've seen in the past between San Diego State. So you nailed it. I think Boise State can steal this one because let's face it, Mount West is probably only going to get 3 teams in a tournament. I wouldn't shock if they only get 2. But if you're Boise State or you're even San Diego State, whoever wins this game, I think, can get that 3rd spot into the dance.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're right. They have lost 3 times at home. One of them was to Gonzaga. Not a bad loss there. One of them was to Utah State by 1. So they actually played better or at least lost by fewer points than St. Mary's. And the other one, admittedly, was not a good game. They lost to UNLV. However, this team beat Houston They blew out Creighton, and they already beat Boise State once this year. So San Diego State, the highs are high, the lows are low with them. They have played some close games, but Brian Dutcher, man, we've seen him guide this program into the top tier over the last 4 or 5 years. This just feels like a game that they're going to get. Now, I got to ask you, conference play, most conferences are balanced schedules, meaning everybody plays home and home, right? How much do you factor revenge into your handicapping? Like in this instance, Boise State lost the first game to San Diego State. We kind of agree that maybe Boise State is the better team. So what are the odds of them losing both games to the Aztecs? Like how do you handicap revenge in those situations?
I put the revenge in my column when I'm looking at games, but then I also look at momentum. And right now, I don't think San Diego State has momentum. They've covered one game out of their last 7 games, and again, they struggled against They should have lost that game to Wyoming. They should have lost to San Jose State. San Jose State had momentum all first half. Momentum is I always look at momentum first before redemption or revenge. And right now, they have no momentum.
Okay, the thing that worries me about Boise State, though, still, not to keep banging the drum, is they are a different team when they play in Idaho than when they go on the road. Okay,
I agree.
They're on a 4-game winning streak. 3 of those games were at home. The one win was at UNLV, and this is not a very good UNLV team. But kick that out. They lost at Colorado State. They lost at New Mexico. They lost at Utah State. You know, their only road wins in conference coming against Wyoming. They only beat San Jose State by 2 points. So I just don't think that Boise State is the better team. I think if these two play in the conference tournament, I'd be all over Boise State on a neutral site. However, I don't trust them on the road, and I just feel like San Diego State, this number is not giving them enough respect for how good they've been at home over the last few years, and just how important home court advantages in the Mountain West. You remember like 10 years ago, and the Missouri Valley used to be like that, right? Like you almost didn't even have to handicap the games. You could just take whoever was at home in the Missouri Valley and they would cover. I almost feel like that's where it's at with the Mountain West right now.
Agree.
So, okay. So do you have a free play to give to the people? You got anything good to give them?
I apologize to the people who are watching this, but it's a Friday game, but it's one of the late games. It's one of those games that Max will kill me if I played it myself. But we're going to Nevada and San Jose State. We're going to the Mountain West. And if you're not betting San Jose State every time they play, you're missing out on free money. I'm kicking myself in the ass. Yes, I said ass. I hope Wade's not watching. Why I don't release San Jose State as a premium play every time they are playing. They are 19-5 against the spread this year. They have covered 22 out of 28 games in their last 28 games. They are covering machine. They're getting plus 7.5 at home against Nevada. Nevada, they're nothing. They're the Wolfpack. They haven't shown me anything this year. I am taking the plus points again with San Jose State. Every time they play, I'm putting money on it. And again, I'm kicking myself in the ass that I don't put plays on them on the site when they're playing.
Yeah, we've talked about them a little bit earlier in the year. It's unbelievable what they're doing. They have a losing record straight up on the season, and they're 19-5 or 20-4, whatever it is, against the spread. It is absolutely unbelievable. They nearly knocked off San Diego State covering that number. Weird thing about this game, and this is why I didn't use it today with Nevada and San Jose State, is I'm with you. Like, we should almost just be blindly betting San Jose State, but why is that number going up? Like, it was at like 6.5. Now it's at 7.5. I've seen a couple 8s out there. Like, that's a little weird. Like, are the books playing mind games with us here? Is regression about to kick in? I don't know, but I kind of agree with you. Like, Sparty
it's because they beat Fresno State, 94-69 their last game. Ooh, Fresno. I mean, they beat Air Force on the road. Me and you, again, can find 3 other guys and beat the Force. I don't know why this number is 7.5.
Listen, to your point, I was going to use Nevada in a teaser tonight, okay? Because something about that line seemed off. I think Nevada wins the game, but again, that's been San Jose State all year, right? They lose, but they lose by 4 points. I was going to use Nevada in a teaser, but then at the last second, I was like, you know what? No, I don't even trust that. Like, I don't want any part of of San Jose State. So hopefully Tim Miles can keep cashing tickets for people. He's got two big fans on this show. All right, my free play is going to be for Saturday. I'm actually going to take Texas over Kentucky. I think this line is going to open around -1 with Kentucky as a small road favorite. I wouldn't be surprised if that number swings by the time that this game tips off. But Kentucky, I'm still not fully on board with this team. These guys are just 5-5 straight up in their last 10 games. They're just 7-6 over their last 13 games. That is an extended period of mediocrity. More important than that, they're not healthy. Lamont Butler, the San Diego State transfer, he's only played about 22 minutes in each of his last 2 games. He's still not 100%. He's only scored 14 points combined in those 2 games. Jackson Robinson, their shooter transfer from BYU, I don't know that he's going to play in this game. He sat out their last game as well. Kentucky is coming off a huge win. Who is it? They beat Tennessee, right? Got that sweep over Tennessee earlier in the week. I think that puts them in a letdown situation going out to play Texas. Texas is bad. They're not a good team right now. They look like an NIT team. They're 15-10. I get it. However, number one, desperation is going to kick in for this team. This is a chance for them to get a marquee win and maybe still bolster that potential NCAA tournament resume. But more importantly than that, these guys almost beat Auburn at home. They almost beat Tennessee at home. They are coming off a blowout loss. They lost by like 21, I think it was, to Alabama at home. So right now, everybody's selling their Texas stock because of that Bama blowout and Kentucky coming off their big win. But again, if you look back, Texas has been a little tricky to handle in their home gym. I think this is a good spot to fade the Wildcats. I'm taking Texas. So you have any thoughts on that game?
No, I mean, a number came out with thoughts, and I'm not a big fan of Texas. You're dead on their NIT or watching.
Yeah, they're not good.
On my couch.
Yeah, they're not good. But again, I feel like this is a spot with that number. The public is going to load up on Kentucky. Like I said, they're due to come down after that loss, or excuse me, that blowout win over Tennessee. Texas is due to come back up after getting blown out for Alabama. I think that's going to be one of the upsets that we see tomorrow. So, all right, that's it, folks. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for everyone that commented and watched live. Don't forget to take advantage of that free 60 down in the description. That's $60 free to be used towards any handicappers packages. Only college basketball this weekend, Raphael. A little UFC, a little soccer and stuff like that. But
horses this weekend too. Come on, we got the Risen horses. We got the Risen Star in Louisiana.
Just stop it. Just stop it right now with your horse racing stuff. So, all right, we will be back next Friday. Everyone have a great weekend. Carpe diem and good luck.